All right, this is not a ride sharing video. I repeat, this is not a ride sharing video for you guys watching it on YouTube. You might be a couple of days behind. Sometimes it can be slow because we have Trump related content in the viewing. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Today, we're going to be talking about a topic with undoubtedly, there's absolutely no doubt at all that what we are about to discuss will be unpopular, very unpopular. As you see, the video is titled The 14th Amendment. We're going to be asking the question, simply put, is it possible, even within the realm of possibility, that the 14th Amendment could be used against our nation's 45th president? Or does that sound ridiculous? I am here to listen to your opinions on both sides. You know we don't block, ban, or censor anyone. But I'm going to be asking this question because not only is it coming to you from a realistic standpoint, there's a hell of a lot of legal scholars suggesting there is a case to be made of using the 14th Amendment against the 45th president of the United States. Now, to start out the program, we'll make it clear we don't block, ban, or censor anyone. The program is and always will remain MAGA friendly in its entirety. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome. However, in regards to the 14th Amendment, we're talking about Section 3 of that amendment. Here is the description according to the Cato Institute for you guys who like references. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment prohibits anyone who has previously taken on an oath of office from holding public office if they have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the United States of America. Is it possible that legal scholars in any way, fashion, or form could ultimately use this against President Trump? That is what we're asking, because this is all over the cable news outlets. Folks are suggesting that Trump could fall victim to the 14th Amendment. Now, I understand a hell of a lot of folks believe that Trump didn't have anything to do with January 6th. Because if they use the 14th Amendment against President Trump, make no mistake about it, they're using it based on what took place on January 6th. So the question is, was January 6th even an insurrection at all? Well, in regards to using the 14th Amendment, Section 3, against a politician based on January 6th and suggesting that was not even an insurrection, but rather a peaceful protest, there is an actual precedent. And I will give you none other than Otero County Commissioner Couy Griffin. He is of New Mexico, the state of New Mexico. By the way, that county commissioner is also the founder of Cowboys for Trump. He was present on January 6th, took part in the protest, insurrection, whatever the hell you want to call it, and a judge in his stripped him of his position effective immediately. He was kicked out of office for his participation in the protest, insurrection, love fest, whatever you want to call it. January 6th had that county commissioner, Couy Griffin, feel free to look it up, spelled Charlie Uniform Oscar Yankee, Couy, C-U-O-Y, Couy Griffin, Otero County Commissioner, was stripped from his position and has thereby been barred from ever holding public, state, or federal office again. Based on the 14th Amendment, Section 3, his participation on January 6th. So the whole purpose of this live, and I'll go straight to the comments and then the box, is is it possible that they may ultimately use the 14th Amendment, Section 3, to remove Trump from the presidential ballot? Looking in the comments, again, that's how it should be, says William. So you believe Trump should be removed based on his action? Now, Look at it. Tally says, get a job. I have one. That's why I'm wearing my damn work ID under my clothing. Anyhow, continuing on. So we still don't feel he is eligible for president. Call your Secretary of State to keep 45 off. Now, what that joyful win, what the commenter is stating is that suggesting rather that you call your Secretary of State, if you're no fan of Trump, leaning left, try to get your Secretary of State to remove him from the ballot in your state. Don't know how the procedure takes place on that, if it could or even if it will be done, what the legal grounds are. I'm no legal scholar, but I've heard other folks suggest that. Going straight to the box, 45th president, by way of the 14th Amendment, Section 3, is it possible they may remove him from the ballot? Randy Kane's back up. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Do you see any possibility of this happening to President Trump, removing him from the ballot? Kane.
No, and as a Democrat, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Good morning. I say no to that question. And as a Democrat, I wouldn't even want that to happen. If the government had charged him with insurrection, that would have been one thing, but they didn't. So to me, I don't think that's a fair scenario where the state legislatures would take him off the ballot. And even if they did that, he can still be written in. It's not like that's going to prevent him from getting a vote. So it's all a fucking ruse. I feel like Democrats need to shut up about this and just let it happen. Let the process work through.
But wait a minute, you sound more like you're responding to the commentator that said call your Secretary of State to have him removed from the ballot, because the insurrection, 14th Amendment, Section 3, that's a little bit different. That would be a judge finding him guilty of insurrection and him being removed federally. That's not a state issue. That would be a federal issue.
Okay, but if the government had charged him with insurrection, that would be one thing. But none of his charges are insurrection. None of them are sedition or treason, which I think he's a treasonous traitor, but none of those charges have been applied. So you can't, out of thin air, just say he's an insurrectionist.
Right.
Some of the January 6th people got charged with sedition, right? So to me, if we aren't applying that from the government standpoint, then in my opinion, I think it's a no.
That makes good sense that if he hasn't been charged criminally with insurrection, how could you use the 14th Amendment and accuse him of committing an insurrection? I don't disagree. I think you worded that well. So at the end of the day, you don't see this happening at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. I feel like Democrats who are talking about it, you're making us sound like them, man. Stop it. Stop with the nonsense. All right? The man's going to be on the ballot. It is what it is. It's going to be Trump Biden. It's going to be a repeat of 2020. That's what's happening. So even if the man is in jail, which I don't think he's ever going to see a day in jail, I'm one of those Democrats too, he could be convicted by a jury, but there's no judge that's going to put this man in behind bars. So to me, the whole thing is a joke. It's all a ruse, to be honest.
So should he be charged at all? If you don't think any judge is ever going to put him behind bars, would you suggest they drop all charges?
I think he needs to go through this process, yes. But I don't think there's a judge in America that will put a former president behind bars and remand him to prison. I don't see that happening at all.
I don't know if I totally agree with that, but I want to ask you this. Dr. Blue Sky on YouTube, watching the simulcast on YouTube, is saying that they're not finished with him yet. So in regards to him not being charged with insurrection, a viewer is suggesting that is a possibility that may be down the road.
Possibly. I'm only going by what they have right now, and none of those cases told us that he committed an insurrection. You remember the January 6th committee? Those folks said he committed insurrection, but that's not the law. They're not the judge. That they don't have any power to put this into the court. So Yeah, it's just a moot issue. But like I said, I think he needs to go through this process for all the things. The only case I don't agree with was that bullshit with Stormy Daniels in New York. They should be ashamed of themselves for even bringing that charge, because who the freak cares at this point?
But wait a minute. Is it a case of a petty case in New York that nobody cares about, or do you believe he is 100% innocent of it?
Because I just don't care enough about it. You know what I mean? Like, that crime did not harm the American people. That crime did not harm anyone in New York. That's what I mean by that. To me, it's one of those, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna let this slide. Other stuff has harmed America.
Yeah, but do we run our system based on we're not going to charge you if no one was harming? Like, if I steal a bag of potato chips from a store, I mean, I really didn't harm anybody. I mean, they got insurance. Should I just be allowed to get away because nobody was harmed?
No. Remember, his charge was what? Using campaign finance money to pay off a porn star. Again, all right. Did he pay back the money into the campaign? Probably. It's $100,000. What are we talking about here? Is his donors complaining again? Like, we gotta start making make sense.
Well,
as shitty as he is as a human being and as a former president, he still is a former president. And to me, you can only bring charges against a former president if it's like a serious threat to America, in my opinion.
So smaller crimes. So smaller crimes, if it is a legitimate crime, because like you said, very few people were harmed, you should let it pass because it's a smaller crime and it's a president.
That one specifically.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, fair enough.
I know you got other callers, darling. Thank you.
Always a pleasure, Rainey. All right, looking in the comments. By the way, folks, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 10,700 plus of you folks in here. I do appreciate that. Could be anywhere you want to be on social media. It's always great to have you here with yours truly. 14th Amendment, Section 3. Is it possible at all that the former president, Donald J. Trump, could find himself on the wrong end of the 14th Amendment, Section 3, preventing him from becoming president ever again or even being on the ballot? Real quick, we'll go to the box, but because there's a few new folks in here. 14th Amendment, Section 3, according to the Cato Institute. For those of you who want references, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment prohibits anyone who has previously taken an oath of office from holding public office if they have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the United States. And as I pointed out, in regards to January 6th, which is where this is coming from, one of the participants that day, a county commissioner in the state of New Mexico, Otero County Commissioner Couy Griffin, was indeed kicked out of office effective immediately by a judge in that state for what took place on January 6th. He participated, lost his public office, and according to the judge's ruling, he has been barred permanently from ever holding public office on a state or federal level ever again. So we're asking, is it possible that Trump could fall victim to the same ruling? Look it in the comments. He never did any of what you're saying. Beers 723. What am I saying he did? I'm asking, could he fall victim to this? I'm not saying he did anything. I'm asking you. Understand that questioning what happened does not mean blaming fault. We're having a conversation here. That's why I don't block, ban, or censor anyone. We run this program without even a damn moderator. So understand you do get to speak here. Looking in the box, we'll keep it moving with a stitch of the, well, I think I clicked on the stitch. Well, wait a minute. I clicked on American Outlaw. With Trump's picture, how the hell could you go wrong? Is that a never surrender? Or is that a mugshot? American Outlaw.
What's going on, buddy? Yeah, I think you'll have, I mean, you got people like former VP, running mate Tim Kaine and Lion Adam Schiff advocate for this. You'll see states take action or attempt it, but I think ultimately the Supreme Court will rule. The only thing I saw Trump participate in on January 6th was his First Amendment rights. That's it.
Let me ask it to you this way. Yeah, let me ask you, because there's a hell of a lot of folks who would agree with you that if the man felt the election was taken from him, he had a right to protest on January 6th. However, like when they compare it to yelling fire in a crowded theater, I want to ask you this. Would you feel like it was still his First Amendment right to protest on January 6th if the evidence made it clear that he knew he had lost? Now, we don't know that yet, but if evidence came out to suggest he knew on January 6th that he had officially lost and out of anger just did it anyway, would you see that as a violation at all?
Yes.
So you would see him as, you would see it as an
if there was conclusive evidence to suggest that he knew he lied and still got everyone to come there, and ultimately that was how it played out. But I haven't seen no such thing in any of the emails that's been released, in any of the records, and then taking him at his own words on January 6th in its full context. The only thing I saw was somebody who had legitimate concerns. Like, I want to say one thing that I think that gets overlooked about the 2020 election, and it's only because of legal precedent and because of law that we weren't able to challenge the election results on this front, and that is that in key battleground states like Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, just to name three, right? The governors, because of they declared a state of emergency in their state, they were able to supersede their state legislators and change election laws. That's a fact, but we couldn't challenge it in the courts because there was legal precedence that during a time of national emergency, whether it's health or safety, the governor has the executive power to supersede the state legislator. And because of that precedent, we never got to look at the validity of these mass unsolicited mail-in ballots. There was a lot of shady shit. We've all seen it on the internet, some in its full context, some in partial context. But ultimately, I don't think anybody can sit back and look at that objectively and say that there weren't things to cause people for concern. And for him to see the same things that we all saw and bring people together and protest peacefully, although it didn't turn out that day on January 6th, a very small portion of people that showed up took it too far, and they've since been held accountable, and some are still being held accountable 2.5 years later. I just saw someone in Florida get raided yesterday, the day before yesterday.
Damn.
2.5 years after the fact. So those people are being held accountable. But as for him seeing what we all saw, there's no way.
So, but I have to ask this. If you've had 60 different judges rule against you, you've had the Supreme Court hear what you wanted to present and refuse to even give you a case on it. You've had multiple recounts in multiple states. At what point do you feel someone could tell Trump he lost and he would say, okay, yeah, I guess you're right?
I don't know, because I would have to I would have to have firsthand knowledge of what he's thinking at that time in real time. I mean, I don't know. All I know is that for me, as somebody who, I'm not somebody who just sits on the sidelines and follows groupthink or anything like that. This is what I always tell people. If you truly believe everything you've ever heard about Trump, and you're one of the few people I've seen on this app who leans left, right, who has come out in the middle of your lives and called a spade, and you've always tried to be the devil's advocate on both sides.
Thank you.
You have even recognized on some of these lives that I've been on some of the things that are true that most people on the left believe are false. Yeah. Right? So I've seen it on several occasions. So what I would ask people who hate Donald Trump to do is look into every single thing that you hate him for, right? As if you were the one that had to defend him in this matter. And you'd be surprised to learn that a lot of the things you had formed an opinion on of Donald Trump would probably change.
Let me respond to that, because that's something that I speak out against often, and I tend to disagree with you for this reason. When you talk to liberals and ask liberals why they don't like Trump, you rarely hear a liberal criticizing a good economy or $2 gas or good drive numbers. When you hear liberals criticize Trump, it's for his tweets and his insults. And when you listen to MAGA, Trump supporters defend Trump, what do they say? Do not pay attention to what he says, pay attention to what he does. So even folks who support Trump do not have a defense for what we hate him for. Talking about the liberals, for what the liberals are not criticizing him for the economy. Listen to what the Trump supporters are saying. His economy is way better than Biden. They're not defending the tweets and the insults. They're telling you to overlook it. So I don't know if there is a true defense for why liberals dislike Trump.
Yeah. No, you're right, probably so, largely speaking. But I've seen a lot on here that just say things that are blatantly untrue. And it's just like, you know, it's frustrating to me because it's like I'm all for fucking calling somebody out on their bullshit. I don't care who they are, what walk of life, what their ideology is, but state the facts. But when people are confidently ignorant, it's so frustrating to me because it's like, how do you combat that? Right? Like,
well, look, I mean, I agree with you on being confidently ignorant, but there are people out there that thinks Hillary Clinton is drinking the blood of infants. Obama was born in Kenya. I mean, there's a lot of confidently ignorant people on both sides. I mean, but I do agree with you, though.
No, you're absolutely right about that. It goes both ways, man. But it's just, Trump has never been somebody that I'm like, you know what? That's a person I'm going to invite over to my house for dinner with that type of personality. But if I want somebody who's sharkish and capable of running the country effectively, efficiently, and that all people can prosper despite some ideological differences they may have, I'm more so for that than I am a geriatric,
I get your point, and that's a fair point. But I will say this, in regards to Trump giving us a good economy, projecting strength worldwide, and leading the country in the direction some of us favor, I will tell you this: the reason why Trump supporters can see ignoring his insults much easier than liberals, in my opinion, is because the insults are not aimed at them. And here's what I often say: let's assume Obama or even Biden was giving us the exact same economy as President Trump, $2 gas, doing everything, energy independence, everything we favor from President Trump, but Obama instead was constantly criticizing and insulting Christians and gun owners. You think they would ignore that for a good economy?
No, I don't think they would.
Yeah.
I think a large portion of them would not.
Yeah. So it's not that liberals are just babies in their feelings. They're responding like any human being would that's being constantly criticized.
Yeah, I completely understand that, but I feel like comparing like the Second Amendment as like the thing that turns them off is not as fair as a mean tweet. Like, I don't feel like that's an equal comparison. So I see what you're saying, and I get the angle. Like, if for me personally, because I voted for Barack both times, for me personally, right, like, if he had mean tweets but still delivered on his foreign and domestic policies, right, like, I wouldn't give a shit. But like you're saying, Trump, the thing they don't like about him is his demeanor, his character, his mean tweets. And I don't feel like it's a fair comparison to the Second Amendment, because I don't think anybody who loves the Constitution and understands why the Second Amendment's in place would ever put up that out of anyone on either party.
Well, and I'm not, you may be right. I'm not here to debate which insult is worse. The fact is, if you're trying to make America great, are those insults necessary at all?
Probably not. I think that was probably one of his biggest downfalls. I think he would have had far more support out of independents primarily in 2020 had he not stole his own thunder, because right on the heels of major legislation passed or, deregulation or things, the tax cuts, the First Step Act, he would always get into a fucking Twitter war, and rather than the media cover his accomplishments, all they would end up doing was covering whatever he tweeted that day. And so it sucked the oxygen out of his accomplishments, and most people never got to know them because, let's be honest, the overwhelming majority of the mainstream media was no friend to Donald Trump.
So let me ask you this before we move it on. By the way, folks, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 20,000. Got 900 plus of you in here. Show your boy some love. Let your thumbs not be lazy. Get the boy likes up to 20,000. Now, with Trump dealing with all of these court cases, American outlaw, do you believe Trump will be treated fairly in the courts?
I think the one that he's probably going to have the most unfair advantage of, if he cannot somehow get it moved out, is the one in DC. It's like 97% Democrat, and there's no way he can get a jury of his peers, of anyone that aligns with him ideologically. I think that he will not have a fair trial there.
Now,
whatsoever.
and I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, the guy is flamboyant, but let me ask you this final question: if you went to court, whether it's suspending or murder, and you were criticizing the judge's family before the case even began, do you think you would be judged fairly in that court?
No, probably not. But in the society that we live in and the system that way it was designed to work, it shouldn't matter. But unfortunately, people allow their emotions to override their responsibilities and roles in our government all the time. It happens every day.
Yeah, but we know that, you and I both know that going in, that if we act like that, we're not going to get a fair case. So we're not going to go to court, have the judge rule against us unfairly, and then walk out at the press conference and say, this judge should have had the mindset to ignore all of my insults to their family.
Right. No, I completely agree, man. He can be his own worst enemy at times, but I think it wouldn't have mattered. I think in D.C., have you ever been there? I've been there quite a few times, man. And it's a liberal shithole. Like, you got, listen, on Pennsylvania Avenue, every 20 feet, you have porta potties that are overfilled with shit, homeless encampments all down Pennsylvania Avenue, and you got, it's a shithole, man.
But wait a minute, though. Most judges are either Republican or Democrat. So the idea that he can't be judged fairly or unbiased by a Democratic judge, if he had a Republican judge, would you believe that would be a fair?
The jury, not the judge. I think the jury.
Okay.
The makeup of the jury.
Okay, well, he has a case in Florida, down in Miami. You think he's going to get judged fairly down there? That's heavily Republican.
Yeah, I think that he had. Well, it's not heavily Republican.
Miami? Yeah, Miami is the mayor of Miami is a presidential candidate for the Republicans.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, like, it's not like what DC is 97% Democrat. Like, that's not even up for grabs. I mean, it's split fairly even. The Miami mayor race won by less than like the margin of error, right? So it's like it's there's enough people to ensure that other people with different ideological backgrounds will end up on that jury pool. 50s and even their spot. So, but I just don't think you'll have that same opportunity in DC. I really don't.
All right.
I really, really don't.
Fair enough. Appreciate you coming on. American Outlaw, always a good talk. Come on back anytime.
Well done, brother. Have a good one.
You too. All right, looking in the comments, and that's what we're asking. Is President Trump, is there a possibility that the former president could fall on the wrong side of the 14th Amendment, Section 3, prohibiting any politician that has taken an oath of office to ever run again? I've kind of read out the actual jargon from the Cato Institute. I won't read it out again, but we're asking that question because a lot of legal scholars are on both sides of this, and there are a host of people that are saying, yes, it's possible. Obviously, there's a lot of people saying it is not possible as well, but fact is, it is now part of the conversation. So we're asking, is it possible? Looking in the comments, I think so. It will be hard, but the argument can be made, says Newsbrain. And as I mentioned earlier, similar to the fire in a crowded theater, at what point do we say, well, maybe he knew or maybe he did not know and simply believe the election was stolen from him? Is there a point where you can say, okay, he actually knew now? Or is it a case where it didn't matter how many people told him, didn't matter how credible their backgrounds were, he has a right to not believe them all? So that's what we're talking about. Going back to the box, America is predominantly liberal, right or wrong. Geographically, America's predominantly Republican. Citizen-wise, it is predominantly liberal. In terms of, if you just took all 350 Americans in the country, I do believe there are more of them that are liberal. However, liberal or left-leaning, let's just say left-leaning, because some people are not that far to the left, such as myself, but leans left, I believe there are more people in that crowd. Geographically, though, Most of America, if you're walking on the surface of this country, there's far more areas that are Republican. Most rural areas outside of the city and suburbs are Republican based. So geographically, we're far more of a Republican state. But liberals, Democrats, progressives, they tend to reside in heavily populated areas. So the big cities are overwhelmingly liberal. Top 50 cities in America, only 9 of them out of the top 50 have Republican governors. I think there's a few independents in there, but almost 40 of them are Democrats. We can talk about how the cities are ran and argue about that. But if the cities are shitholes and being improperly ran, that should really tell you something, that even though the city is a shithole, they would rather continue electing Democrats than to go with a Republican. What is it about the Republican Party that citizens, even living in shitholes, want to avoid? That is something that the Republican Party needs to answer. Looking in the box. We'll keep it moving with Tanner Than You. I love the name because this was a white guy with a name Tanner Than You. I'm assuming it doesn't reference the host, but I do appreciate him coming on. America is predominantly liberal. Okay, Tanner Than You. I don't know if it's letting him come on because I would love to hear him explain that. Okay, Democrats are communist cowards. Yikes. Really? Okay, fair enough. People, this like I say, I don't block, ban, or censor. We get some hellified comments like that. Democrats are communist cowards. Wow. The evil elite Marxist agenda is being pushed by BlackRock through ESG scores forced on companies. That is a mouthful. I don't know why my last guest is not coming through, but I will continue on. And Richard Hitchens, I appreciate the compliment. I enjoy your rants, even though I disagree with you a lot. Listen, it's never about us always agreeing. That's why I am a strong proponent of the First Amendment and your right to free speech. You don't have to agree with the host. I say that on every damn program. Keeping it moving, going back to the box. Stitch of the truth. Let's try it this way. I don't know what happened with my last guest, but Stitch, welcome back to the program. So, 14th Amendment, Section 3. Could Trump ever face that? Talk to me, Stitch.
You know what? Here's one of these things about the whole insurrection. I don't think so. Here's the reason why. Because this is one of these things that if it did happen, if you use back channels and everything else, everyone would have to basically say, yeah, I got my orders from Trump. And that won't be proven. And so that's why I think he won't face the 14th Amendment. Out of all the indictments, I think the insurrection charge is the only one that would apply. So,
well, let me respond to your comment in regards to everyone would have to say they got their orders from Trump. You do realize that a hell of a lot of the folks that have been held accountable for entering the Capitol building on January 6th, in their defense, they are saying that Trump told them to come there. They actually are saying that. They're not blaming Antifa or Black Lives Matter or the Democrats. They're in court using that as a defense, saying that they came because Trump told them to come.
So if I'm a lawyer and I ask that person who's using that for defense, I'm going to be like, okay, well, show me the text message. When was the phone call? You know, it has to be that sort of direct line of, you know, I guess the chain.
Wait a minute, though.
To convict.
You got several of his key speakers, from Giuliani to Steve Bannon, on stage who did exactly what you're saying. Tweeted out, come to Washington on January 6th. Right. It's going to be wild. They did what you're talking about.
Well, no, again, Giuliani said let it be trial by combat, and Steve Bannon, those guys. But, you know, again, agreeing with the commenters on there, Trump said, you know, hey, let's make it peaceful. It's one of those things that, you know, hey, look, even though I think he meant it, he didn't directly say it, literally.
So do you think that Steve Bannon and Giuliani, who you admit, let's have trial by combat, do you think they committed an act of insurrection?
Well, I mean, again, yeah, I would definitely say, well, again, trial by combat, again, they're going to have to present some evidence that we have not seen yet.
What is trial by combat? If you're standing in front of an angry group that believes the election is stolen, what does trial by combat even mean? How would you interpret it?
I agree with you, but then you will have to say, well, did you mean trial by combat right then and there? Or do you mean sometime? Look, I'm telling you that is the loopholes. You've been to court, you've been to jury duty. Whenever, we look at, the evidence of someone directing someone to do something, did you hear directly from that person? Did you do exactly what there's so many loopholes. That's what I'm saying. That's going to be...
Wait a minute.
I think that's going to be the hardest to prove.
So if a mob boss tells his lieutenant, things would be really good for the family if that lady taking us to court was to go away, and all of a sudden the lieutenant takes the lady's life, you're saying the mob boss, because he didn't say take her life specifically, he's not responsible for that?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, for that mob boss, they would have to have proof of him saying that. That's my point.
Well, if he makes the statement, things would be really good for the family if she went away. How do we know he's not talking about sending her on a cruise?
You're making a good point. My saying is, as far as the insurrection is concerned, again, and look, this is how MAGA crowd is seeing it. They're looking at it as, okay, he said come peacefully and patriotically, right? We never hear Trump, not unless there's some other evidence out there that we don't know about. We never hear Trump says, hey, look, I want you guys to enter in the Capitol. We don't know if he coordinated with anyone. And if that evidence comes out, then sure, I would agree.
So now, on YouTube, we got a commenter that said, Trump said you have to fight. You have to fight hard if you're going to have a country. What do you think that means? How would you interpret that?
That is the same thing as if I was to say, hey, look, Democrats, we have to fight like hell. That can be taken, metaphorically. Hey, look, we got to make our presence known. We have to protest. That can be taken so many different ways. And so that's what I'm saying. Look, I'm one of the ones that think that, hey, look, yeah, you knew what the hell you were doing. But Trump is smart enough to know not directly to say these things.
So based on what you're saying, the bar for what would be defined as an insurrection is so high that he would basically have to come out and say, let's go to the Capitol building and have an insurrection right now. That's the way you're making it sound like, that virtually nothing can be interpreted. It has to be spelled out to the letter.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back to what Rainey said earlier when she was on here. Because he is the sitting president, then yeah, it would have to be that, simply because of the mood of the country. It would have to be directly that, because then we all seen it. A lot of people say, hey, well, he didn't directly say it, even though, yeah, people like me, yeah, look, I knew exactly what you meant, but he didn't directly say it. And so for the mood of the country, even with your previous guest who was on here, I don't know if you caught it or not, look at what he said. He said that the elections, if it wasn't for the law, we would not be able to challenge the election. I'm like, well, that's what the law is for, to tell you what you can and cannot do.
Yeah.
So, that you got to look at the mindset of the MAGA crowd. They will find any sort of loophole for Trump because they are avid supporters. And so they're it has to be spelled out black and white, literal, for them to even say, all right, well, he did it.
Well, let me ask you.
I'm not even concerned about
Let me ask it to you this way, the way I asked it to one of the previous callers, in regards to the fire in a crowded theater argument. Even if he did go there with and exercised his First Amendment free speech rights, what if he called to order a protest against the election being stolen when there was a clear amount of evidence that he already knew behind the scenes that he had lost legitimately?
Again, philosophically, yes, I agree, but let's look at the realism of it. That would have to be some conversations that we are not privy to. We can only go off what we've been seeing.
Well, no, I don't agree with that. If you got his vice president and his attorney general Barr saying that we told this guy, we tracked down all of the claims you're making, and both Barr and Pence have stated they're willing to testify under oath, particularly Attorney General Barr, who had the job of sending investigators in to check on Ruby Freeman and some of these claims. If the guy that is the guy you put in place, whose job it is to trace down the stuff you're saying, comes back and says, sir, there's no validity to this stuff, and here you are on January 6th saying the same stuff that your own attorney general told you is invalid, at what point can you still say, well, I thought I won?
So again, going off what I've seen so far, on the day of, and the election night and the days afterwards, a lot of this information that is coming out was coming out, after the fact. Whenever I think it was Roger Stone or someone that said that, hey, look, well, we knew what we were telling the president was BS. I think a lot of this stuff kind of happened after the fact.
But what if you find out that Barr and Pence told him this before January 6th, would that change your thinking at all?
Oh, well, here's the thing. If you remember what Pence said, I think what they, I don't want to convolute one of the other points. So if you remember, they were asking Pence what he could do per the Constitution, right? As far as certifying the electors and that sort of thing.
Right.
That's one issue. The other issue is whether or not he won or not. So, what I'm saying is that what I think Pence, from what I've seen, what Pence and what Barr was simply, most of the conversation was about, okay, what could Pence do per the Constitution?
Yeah, but I don't think that. Yeah, but that's not really answering the question, though. I mean, if
no, that's what I'm about to answer. The other part of it is that whenever they were tracking down all this information, again, after election night, and when was Biden announced as the winner? Probably about a week later, right?
Okay.
A week or 2 weeks later. So a lot of that information, as far as, all these ballots and, all the stuff that they were trying to make, came out even after that. So I think Trump, during that week, was saying that, hey, well, look, this is false information, yada, 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 yada. But a lot of the information, as far as what was truthfully told and what happened, came out after that week, after Biden was announced the winner. Now, I agree with you. Come January 6th, after all this stuff had been told to you, you're trying to say fight like hell. Well, why? All this stuff after Biden was announced, not certified, announced as the winner, you knew the information came out afterwards saying that, hey, look, well, none of these claims happened. As a matter of fact, most of the people, and hear me out, MAGA crowd, most of the people that got arrested for tampering with stuff were indeed Republicans. So, again, I don't know why everyone's talking about Democrats when it's been mostly Republicans that's been caught tampering with stuff. Yeah. I just had to let that be known.
Fair enough. All right, Stitch. Good conversation. Anytime, come on back through, man.
Okay, dude, take care.
You too. All right, looking in the comments. Here's Johnny. I didn't see what that said there. Here's Johnny is always a friend of the program. Somebody was communicating with him. Really, the man asked for 10,000 National Guardsmen. Why would he want to go and start a civil war? Come on. Well, in regards to asking for the National Guard, how about making sure with absolute certainty that they are on standby and they're going to participate before holding the protest? It's not like this spurred up overnight. It's not like Trump or the Trump administration could not have verified the National Guard was going to be there. If you threw a protest or I threw a protest and it went awry like January 6th, you think they would let you walk away with that? Let's say you believe that, talking about Black Lives Matter, for instance. Let's say you believe that the police wrongfully killed an African American, and you called for a protest in front of a police station when there is clear-cut evidence that African American was a justifiable shoot, and he was in the wrong. Talk about, say, Mike Brown in Ferguson. Some folks say that was a justifiable shoot. And you call for a protest, and it goes awry based on what appears to be false information. Yeah! Star Gma, thank you for that hat and mustache. First one of the day. Appreciate that. If you call for a protest based on what amounts to some bullshit, talking about Mike Brown, Black Lives Matter, in what happened in Ferguson, you're going to tell me people are going to ignore the fact that you call for a protest and we got all this destruction over something you can't even prove happened? Whether or not it goes to the 14th Amendment or any of that, it's similar in that aspect that we're 3 years out almost come November, and there hasn't been a significant amount of proof from Trump to even convince a Republican court anywhere in this country that what he was claiming that happened in the 2020 election is true. There's not one court in America so far that is saying it's true. In fact, I don't know if there's a single Republican senator outside of maybe Marjorie Taylor Greene that's saying he won. And I'm talking Republicans, not liberals. How many liberal, or better yet, how many Republican senators, Congress people, or governors are saying Trump won in 2020? I don't think there's any of them, is there? Maybe I'm wrong on that. Let me go back to the box. We'll keep it moving with Heidi Ho, 1313. So we're asking the question, 14th Amendment, Section 3. Defined as prohibits anyone who has previously taken an oath of office from holding public office if they have engaged in an insurrection or rebellion against the United States. By the way, taking out the term insurrection, that also was a rebellion. Talking about taking the life of the vice president, I would assume we could also throw the phrase rebellion in there as well. That's how the Cato Institute defines the meaning of the 14th Amendment, Section 3. An insurrection or a rebellion. Heidi Ho, good afternoon. Heidi Ho, you're up. Okay, she did drop out. We'll keep it moving. Going straight on to Fuzzy Be Nice. I love the name. 14th Amendment, Section 3. Tap the screen. Still 900 plus of you here. Get your boy up to 50,000 likes. We try to deliver good content. Program is, always will remain MAGA friendly for its entirety. Liberals are welcome as well. We do not block, ban, or censor anyone. By the way, if you enjoy civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle, you're in the right place. Follow the program. We believe in First Amendment free speech. You don't have to agree with the damn host here. Fuzzy, be nice. 14th Amendment, Section 3. What say you?
You said it right there. A rebellion. It doesn't require an insurrection. 100%. Anyone that wants to say, let's peacefully, that's fine. The permits were for the oh shit! Where was it held?
Did they have any permits to be there on January 6th?
For the eclipse, they did. But when he said go down to the Capitol, that's trespassing. So he encouraged them to go trespass. So he lives. Thank you. I keep saying it close. So he said go down to the Capitol. Now you're telling those people to go trespass, and then you're trying to tell them we've got to fight like hell for our country after telling them to trespass. 100%. 100% a problem.
So you do cue in, when they say prohibits anyone who has previously taken an oath of office from holding public office if they have engaged in insurrection or rebellion. So the term rebellion, you do see a case for that.
100% rebellion. Now the insurrection, you can even make a case for too, because people are being not charged necessarily with insurrection, but very similar charges. It has been labeled an insurrection. So yeah, 100%. When he said, go down there and go trespass on the Capitol during this session, 100% he is guilty of participating.
Well, in the comments, here's Johnny questions the notion that telling them to go to the Capitol building. How do you jump from that to trespassing?
The Capitol grounds were closed that day.
I think that's a good answer. I actually think that's a pretty good answer. If the Capitol grounds were closed to visitors and you're sending them there anyway, I think that is a pretty good answer to that. Johnny, listen to that.
Not even just the inside, the entire outside. Outside the entire, there's a perimeter that was completely closed off to public that day.
So how do you respond to folks like Bucky Naked in the comments? Love the name, Bucky Naked says it's public property. You cannot trespass on public property. Now, I right off the bat disagree with that, but how do you respond to that?
It's not public property.
Yeah.
It isn't. It's owned by it's owned by the American people. Yes, I agree with that. But the government has the right to close
you can't just go to the police station and walk into the chief of police's office. I mean, because it's no, it's not. You're right. It's the difference between owned by the people and quote unquote public property. Nancy Pelosi's office is owned by the people. It's not public property.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good way of saying it.
Yeah.
So I also want to go. So I listened to, and she's a dear friend of mine, Rainey Kane. I love Rainey. We talk a lot. I've known her since the beginning of this. Well, since the beginning of us on this app.
Okay.
I disagree with her strongly. He is going to jail. Yeah, I don't know our prison. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know.
So you do believe he will? You believe he will either become federal or state property? It could be by way of house arrest, or it could be in an institution. But you do believe he will ultimately be custody of the federal government or the state of Georgia?
If the state of Georgia, especially if the state of Georgia finds problems, you cannot lock 18 other people up without him. How do you do that? You can't just say, oh, well, all 18 of you are going to see 5 years, but the president doesn't. You can't do that. And then we also have to hold ourselves accountable to other countries. This man gave away other countries' secrets. So why would another country ever trust us again with anything if we don't hold them accountable? Like, how do we even negotiate with other countries if they don't have trust that we're going to keep ourselves accountable? So I think 100% he is going to see some kind of incarceration, and if it's in Georgia, he will see 5 years of incarceration.
I partially agree and I disagree on some parts. I can totally understand that some of this stuff looks like he may be guilty of it, but in regards to holding somebody accountable, if we didn't hold George W. Bush accountable for that war, showing documents comes across as kind of petty in comparison. So, I mean, because you got to assume people on the world stage are looking at the United States in regards to the Iraq war as that was really wrong for that country to do. So if we let Bush off, I don't think what Trump did is anywhere in the same realm in terms of how other countries might view us.
Well, the only answer I have to do with that is, yeah, Bush was in the wrong, what have you, but he was never charged on a world stage. He was never held.
Because we didn't hold him accountable is why he was never charged.
But the charges never came about.
Yeah.
Right. So and that's a fair argument. I don't have a solid answer for that. Yeah. I don't know. And not only that, we convinced a lot of other countries to assist us with that. That was pretty jacked up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying in regards to if we want to talk about doing something wrong, it doesn't necessarily just have to be against somebody who got charged. There's a lot of bad people throughout American history that didn't get charged with a crime at all. I mean, hell, we did have a country full of slave owners, and none of them got charged with a crime. So you can do something wrong and not get charged with it. And I would say the Bush-Cheney team would probably be far worse in terms of sheer number of dead people than Trump could ever amount to.
Yeah. That's. I mean, you're. I don't have a. That's a solid argument. That's a solid devil's advocate right there.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. The only thing I can say is there were never ever any charges. Someone could have brought charges up. These are actual charges.
True.
In hand, and it's a new day. You know, we do have to hold this man accountable. It has been shown and proven. The audio tape of him with the witnesses saying, look what I've got, and I'm not supposed to have them, and I'm showing them to you. That's pretty easy.
I don't see how you get past that or to find me 11,000 votes. How this guy decided to put so much stuff on recorded lines, I just don't get it. I just, even if he ultimately beats every one of these cases, huh?
I think we're on a delay with each other. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Now I was gonna say, even if he beats every one of these cases, his lawyers have got to be chastising him. Shut the hell up! Why would you put so much stuff on audio recordings? Let somebody else speak for you. Why would you continue saying this stuff where it can be recorded?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. His lawyers have the worst job in the world. There's not a worse job than being a Donald Trump lawyer right now.
Yeah, I don't know if I totally agree with that because they're getting paid so much damn money. But Fuzzy, I gotta move it on. Appreciate you coming through.
All right.
All right, good.
Thank you, Tim. Have a good one.
You too. Look, we might have had a slight delay, but definitely enjoyed talking to Fuzzy. Duct tape. Use duct tape, says Star Grandma. You shouldn't have to use duct tape. Even if you look at President Trump's actual time in office as the nation's highest leader, talking is what cost him his second term. And I'm saying this to both liberals and MAGA alike. Whether you believe Trump lost legitimately or you believe he was cheated out of the 2020 election, both of them are for the same reason. Mouth. Both of those cases, whether they stole it from him or legitimately voted him out of office, it is for his mouth. Nobody's going to get rid of a commander-in-chief that's giving us a good economy, $2 gas. You like the way the country was being projected worldwide. Nobody's going to get rid of a commander-in-chief for that reason. Ask folks who you may think voted him out or stole the election from him, why did they not want him in office for a second term? Whether it's the thieves, in your opinion, or folks who voted against him, they're all given the same damn reason. So why would you ultimately end up in court for continuing to talk? Such as now discussing issues about the judges and their families and expecting to get a fair trial in court. He's already attacking the judges. I don't get it. I don't understand why anyone thinks that that is a winning strategy. Looking in the comments, Obama started to turn the economy. Triple X, I don't disagree with that, but the economy didn't crash under Trump. Even if you believe Obama left Trump a great economy, he still had the ability to destroy it. He didn't do that. The economy continued to get better under Trump. He wasn't doing a bad job economically. And I'm going to simply say that when you talk to liberals who are stark opponents of Trump, they're not criticizing him for his job numbers or the economy. They're just not. So I do believe on paper, Trump deserved a second term. But when you're constantly pissing off everybody and their mama, the outcome is generally not favorable. It's just not. And he's doing it even in the off season. He's still doing it to the point where my beloved MAGA, what are they saying? Biden sucks. Biden is old. Biden doesn't know where he's at. Let's ignore the insults and get back a guy who was doing a good job. Even Trump supporters admit if you get him back, he's going to still do what he was doing to piss you off. But because the economy was being ran better in their opinion, you should allow it to continue to happen. No one, even his supporters, is suggesting maybe he needs to stop talking. You know, as opposed to suggesting he's wrong for talking about people, the argument from Trump supporters is that you're wrong for letting it insult you. As long as you're having a nice economy and bringing home food to your family, you should let this man say any damn thing he wants about you. You should sell yourself out for a good economy. Let him insult you. You're still making money. You're still working. Let him say whatever the hell he wants about you. Because you have no dignity at all. It's all about how much money you bring home to your family. Looking in the comments, or better yet, the box. We'll keep it moving with Takesha Blue. Good afternoon, Takesha. Welcome to the program.
How are you?
14th Amendment, Section 3. Takesha, what say you?
I say you're guilty.
Do you think that he may be removed from the ballot?
I would hope so.
But what about the notion that he had a First Amendment right to protest?
If it was me, they'll remove me without even investigating. I don't know why y'all keep saying President Trump. He's ex-President Trump. That's what's wrong with that. No, that's what's wrong with him now. The Secret Service detail that he got, and people still saying President Trump, making him think he's still the president. That's the whole problem to a narcissist.
Well,
But let me say this, handsome. Let me say this. See, I called you handsome. I'm trying to be nice.
go ahead. You got the floor. You got the floor.
Hold on. Y'all keep talking about, oh, the gas prices were so good and food prices were so good. When I was young, gas was 99 cents.
Okay.
I can get a bag of chips for 25 cents. Things go up and things come down. When has gas prices ever stayed the same?
Well,
Name me one time gas prices was low and stayed low and never moved by a penny or a quarter, nickel or whatever.
okay. There is some movement, yes.
That's my whole point. They keep harping on the gas and they keep harping on the food and they not blaming none of the corporations. They ain't saying nothing about what OPEC or none of that. It's all about the presidents. They do not control any of the gas or food prices.
Let me interrupt and say this. In regards to suggesting that the president doesn't control the price of fuel or the price of food and fuel, like you're talking about, that would sound really good if it wasn't coming from a biased perspective. And this is what I mean. You're saying the president doesn't control the price of fuel or the price of gas, but what is the president saying? When I'm in office, this is happening or that is happening in relation to gas. Right now, Bidenomics. He is taking credit for the economy. So even though you're saying he doesn't control this stuff, both him and Trump are telling the people they do.
The economy is different from gas. And when he's talking about economy, he's really talking about job creation.
You're telling me...
Listen, Biden already know he don't control no darn gas prices. Because if he did, he wouldn't have had to go in the reserve. He could have just went and changed the number and said, hey, how much I want the gas to be? Let me go on and make it this low and all this kind of stuff. Let me say this, Hanson. We give the presidents, and I'm talking about both of them, all of them, too much credit for stuff they do not control.
So let me ask you this from a fair perspective. Under Obama, the economy was doing pretty well. If Trump came in office and all of a sudden the price of fuel skyrocketed and inflation went the hell up, would you be saying that, well, Trump doesn't control any of this, it's not his fault?
I would not. I would not, because I went to school and I was educated and I know what government and I know what economics taught me when I was in school, and that's why I know they don't control any of that. There is something that's going to make inflation happen. OPEC controls gas prices, so they take it up. You can see it. Okay, gas could be $2.50. Let a holiday come up where they know folks finna start traveling. Guess what happened? Gas go up because they know people finna be buying gas to travel out of town. And then when the holiday over, guess what? Gas go back down.
But you do get, I understand you went to school and you have economic education, but you get what I'm saying, is that if this happened under Trump, us liberals would be blaming Trump for this just like they're blaming Biden.
But I wouldn't. The thing is...
No, you're talking about you. You're talking about you. I'm saying the liberals overall would be blaming Trump for this.
Would be. And y'all probably would be, just like y'all keep saying that it was Trump's economy. When if you look at the chart, he only grew about 1%.
That's better than deficit, though, isn't it?
1%. 1% before COVID took it out. Go look at the chart. Go look at the growth chart, Hansel. I encourage you to look at that growth chart. From Obama to Trump, it only grew 1%.
Okay, all right.
Go look at it.
So if it only grew 1%, do you think economically Trump did a good job or he did a bad job?
I don't think Trump did too much of anything. I honestly don't. I really don't think he did too much of anything. He was just like Aladdin, riding on a magic carpet that he found during the last administration. Now let me say this, back to the prices. I went in Walmart the other day and I was looking at a shirt and it was $12.96. When I went back in there yesterday, the shirt was $5. Did Biden go in there and say, hey, check this out? These shirts $12.96. I want them at $5. So when I went in there to buy, I looked, because I love Walmart. I went in there to get me some Caress body wash. That was $4.36 the last time I bought it. I went in there to get some yesterday. It was $5.96. Did Biden say, hey, check it out, Walmart? That body wash needs to go up $1. Now you take it up $1.
Okay.
That's what I mean by they don't control prices, the corporations do.
All right. But you don't, so when you talk about the price of fuel, which is outside of the president's control, in your opinion, the fact that Biden is constantly criticizing the fossil fuel industry and making it clear he's trying to get people away from that, do you see any possibility that the fossil fuel industry is price gouging because Biden has let them know your gravy train is coming to an end?
They was price gouging before we let them know it. They've always price gouged us. Did you just not hear me say when it ain't no holiday, the gas prices all right, and then when it's time to go out of town, they jump the prices up? They do what they want to do, because one thing they do know is we got to have gas to get around. The grocery stores know we got to have food to eat.
Right. But was it...
So they price gouge us all the time.
But so in your opinion then, why is gas so significantly higher under Biden than Trump?
Because Afghanistan is trying to get President Trump back in there, so they want to make Biden look bad when they cutting production over. Listen, check it out. They cutting production. They want to get the man back in that they gave his son-in-law $2 billion over there for doing some consulting work that he ain't never consulted on.
Okay, so you believe that? So, but
say I owned a lemonade stand. Okay, say my lemonade was $1, and then I needed to get you in a position, because you are the person that's gonna help me get my lemons for cheaper, but nobody know. You gonna give me the secrets to the lemonade stand down the street so I can have mine successful like them.
okay.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, here you is sitting to the side. Ain't nobody studying you. So here come this guy. And he's selling my lemonade. And he's selling it at the good price. So everybody bragging on this good price man. But this good price man can't get me these lemons down the street, nor these people recipe to improve my lemonade, but you can. I'm going to sabotage the man that's selling my lemonade for 50 cents because you the one going to help me sell it for more.
You know, I respect that comparison. And I will say this then, if what you're saying is true, that they lowered gas prices because they favored Trump. You use Afghanistan as an example. Then you can understand why the citizens of this country, well, if the people who control gas prices like Trump, and I can feed my family more under Trump because they like him, you're going to have a hell of a lot of people saying, then I want Trump back in as president.
But that's a stupid thing to do.
It ain't never stupid. Wait. It ain't never stupid to feed your family.
It's dangerous once you get in your enemy's grasp. They can do anything with you. That's what's so dangerous. Food ain't that high, and neither is gas. People are still driving and buying. Listen, the car dealership ain't stopped selling SUVs.
Wait a minute. Did you say food ain't that high? You really believe that?
It ain't bothering me. It ain't bothering me.
I don't know, Takesha. Food prices have went up a lot.
Listen to me. Eggs back down to what they were. I don't know where y'all stay, but mine are. My right bacon ain't $10 no more. It's $8.96. I just bought some the other day.
I
food ain't as high. as y'all
I gotta disagree with you a
Y'all
lot.
still-
I'm gonna
y'all
tell you
still
right off
like-
the bat. One of my
y'all still
favorite.
like to eat and order steak.
I gotta disagree with you a lot. I'll tell you this. One of my favorite items I often like to eat is those. I'm thinking everybody is going to be familiar with this. Those rotisserie chickens at Walmart and some other grocery
They
store.
went up. They went up.
For how much did they go up?
Probably about $2 or $3.
How much did they originally cost during the Trump administration when they came out?
I used to work at Walmart. When they first came out, they were $3.96, then they went to $5.96. Yeah. Then now they had, I think they had like 8 something.
Right. So they went from $3 to $8. That's like.
Did you buy them? Yeah, are you buying them?
Yeah, I'm buying them, and I'm suffering. It went from buying a chicken to buying a bag of weed. That stuff is expensive.
If you were suffering, you wouldn't be trying to buy no rotisserie chicken. You would buy what you could afford to eat.
So
You ain't in no buying that rotisserie chicken. Because you know what people do when they in a bind? They lower what they buy. They start buying Kraft and they might buy Crunched. You know, they might go to Great Value. They might go to anything to survive. Y'all ain't surviving. Y'all still buying just what.
I think I gotta disagree with you. I don't. Yeah, I think that's a bad argument, Takesha. I mean, the fact that I can afford it.
Handsome, do you have to buy that rotisserie chicken?
No, I don't.
You buy it because you what?
Because I like it.
Okay, people buy what they want and complain about what they don't.
Yeah, I gotta disagree with that argument. The fact that I can afford, you're basically saying because I can still buy it, I'm not hurting. I mean, I would probably buy it if it cost $12. I'd complain, but I can still afford it. I mean, I disagree with that.
If you're gonna spend $12, baby, you're not hurting. When I was hurting, guess what I couldn't do? I couldn't buy the stuff that I could buy when I wasn't hurting.
Do we?
See, you part of the Joneses. You trying to live like the Joneses, but I can't.
I'm eating chicken, Takesha. The Joneses are eating rotisseries at Walmart.
Listen, people buy what they want to buy and complain about what they don't want to buy.
Okay, we gotta agree to disagree, but I gotta move it on to Keisha. I am gonna have rotisserie tonight in your honor.
Buy that $12 chicken and buy you a little $5.96 hen and put your own rotisserie seasoning on it, and it'll be cheaper than that $12.
Ouch! Come on back anytime. All right, Takesha.
You ain't got it.
You hurt my feelings, but good talk. All right, by the way, folks, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 60,000. It's over 1,000 of you folks in here. I do appreciate that. The idea, and I always enjoy talking to Takesha, certainly a respected viewer, but I got to disagree. Just because I can afford to pay extra for something doesn't mean the economy or my complaints are invalid. I mean, it went up from when I'll tell you, I was an over-the-road driver back during the Trump administration. In fact, I stopped in 2020 due to COVID and no freight being moved at the time. And I used to eat those chickens on the road a lot because you could drive and reach in the damn thing and scoop up some nice, delicious, tender chicken. And I was paying $4.99 in 2018, 2019 for those chickens. Those chickens are about almost double, at least $8 is what you're paying for those things. Just about every Walmart you go to, and that's not bad because you can pay it. We gotta disagree, Takesha, but it's always a pleasure. Looking in the comments, and I think RN Rudy makes a good point. If your savings account is tanking, does that mean your thoughts aren't valid? Exactly, because I'm paying it, but I'm not saving as much money as I used to be able to save because these things are costing more. Now, she used the phrase, food costs are not that high. I vehemently disagree with that. Even though I lean left, I vehemently disagree with that. Going back to the box. By the way, I appreciate you folks tapping the screen. As always, the program shall forever remain MAGA friendly. If you enjoy civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle, without any concern of the host blocking, banning, censoring you, you're in the right place because we don't do that. We always preserve free speech here, and it's always a pleasure talking to you folks, whether on the right or the left. We'll keep it moving with the one and only Moo, the Tuxedo cat. Welcome back, Moo. We're talking about the 14th Amendment, Section 3. Could Trump fall victim to that and have his name removed from the ballot?
Oh yeah, the dude did an insurrection. Of course he can. Yeah, says it right there in the Constitution. Sure.
Then I'm going to ask you right off the bat, if you, under your quote, the dude did an insurrection, why the hell hasn't he been charged with an insurrection anywhere?
There hasn't been a trial yet, man.
There hasn't been a charge. He hasn't been indicted for insurrection anywhere.
Oh, you mean why Jack Smith decided to go? Because it's easier to prove what he's going after, man. It's harder to prove an insurrection than all the other shit like the RICO and all that, right?
Then, if he has not been charged with insurrection, how can you prevent him from running for office based on something he hasn't been charged for?
Well, it says, first of all, it's not based on a conviction. Okay, it's based, that's subjective, my dude. That whole thing is going to be subjective. Okay, so in my opinion, yes. In your opinion, no. Then that goes to the Supreme Court, and then they'll decide. Okay, so that's all subjective. All right, that's how.
Do you feel even remotely confident that if it went to the Supreme Court, a 6-3 majority for Republicans, they would hold him accountable for an insurrection?
Oh yeah, no, dude, they're gonna slaughter him if that. Oh my God, you do not want that to go to the Supreme Court. So first of all, Republicans more than anything like to hold on to power. Okay, a dictator has no need for a Supreme Court. The Supreme Court knows this. Okay, they're not gonna help your boy. They're gonna shut him down because they're gonna want to keep their power.
Their power is not going anywhere, regardless of what happens to Trump.
Really? You been to Venezuela when dictator took over?
Listen.
When the dictator took over?
So,
Hey.
so you're saying the Supreme Court will sense that Trump is trying to be like Hugo Chavez, and as opposed to letting a dictator rule this country, they would shoot him down?
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be so quick to get him off the ballot. MAGA's head will spin. They'll be like, what happened, man? I thought they were our guys. What happened?
I don't see that, because I do believe, now, here's where you and I disagree. I believe Trump is one that demands loyalty to a fault. He's not going to be loyal to any damn body, but he demands loyalty to him. However, if you are loyal to Trump, I believe he will reward you bountiful. And if the Supreme Court was to rule in Trump's favor and he was to become a dictator, as you're saying, they would get paid. They would be treated like royalty.
Really? I mean, he won't even reward the people who are going to do him in, and you think he's going to reward them? That's cute, man. You're cute. You got a cute opinion right there. That's
Okay,
very cute of you.
I will concede, you kind of got me on that one, but I do believe he kind of rewards his folks sometimes.
Yeah, okay, sure. Name them. What are some rewards you've seen? I'm calling you out. Give me some of the rewards you've seen.
I think
What, a pardon? Yeah, you know what, a pardon.
I'll give you a perfect example. Ron DeSantis would not be where he is if he wasn't Trump helped Ron DeSantis.
That didn't require any monetary value on Trump's part.
It ain't gotta be monetary. It ain't gotta be monetary value. You put him in it.
Trump boosted him up with words. Trump boosted him up with words.
Trump's words in some cases are better than money.
Okay, but he didn't support him monetarily. He wouldn't do that. But words are easy. Words are free. I can give my words to anyone I want for free. That requires like little to no effort on Trump's part, man. Plus, it doesn't hurt him financially. So yeah, he's got nothing to lose.
I don't think you're giving him proper credit. If you can propel somebody to governor that is losing a race like with Ron DeSantis, that's better than money.
First of all, Ron DeSantis lives in one of the most racist back-ass wood states in the country. And you want me to give credit to Trump for being able to antagonize and rile up a bunch of rednecks to support a douchebag? Nah, my dude, there's no credit due there. I'm sorry. No.
So you're saying Florida is one of the most racist states in this country?
Yeah, dude, they even have a warning up right now that if you're like LGBTQ or homosexual, to not go there. Yeah, dude, they're racist as hell.
Wow. Well, I have heard that. I'm not going to lie. I have heard that warning where they're telling them, it might not be safe for you. And I can see that to some degree.
Rick Scott is on the TV. They're telling socialists not to come down there, bro. I have money. I was going to actually come down to Florida for a vacation this year, spend a bunch of money at Universal Studios. But since Rick Scott told me he doesn't want my money, I'm not going to give y'all any of my money. I'll go down to Mexico again. The Mexicans my money instead of you guys. Go
Damn.
Mexico.
I got a trip to Tampa coming up soon, so hopefully I'll be safe down there then, right? Shit.
Here's a couple things I want to go over, though, because it seems to me that a couple of your callers don't think that eyewitness testimony is evidence. They seem to think that there need to be text messages. There's a lady named Alyssa Farah Griffin, who was a Trump aide who directly heard him say he knows he lost, and his direct quote was, "I can't believe I lost to this guy," meaning Biden. So there are various witnesses already that heard him directly in person say that he knows he lost. Eyewitness testimony is just as good as a text message or anything else in a court of law. So any of you who think that corroborating witnesses won't put Trump's ass in jail, you're fooling yourself. People get thrown in jail for eyewitness testimony every day. Y'all watch too much TV.
I don't disagree with that because the woman that's one of the women on The View, and I know my MAGA audience has no tolerance for The View, but what the right winger on The View was a Trump hire. She was on the Trump administration, and she also testified to exactly what you said, is that he said, "I can't believe I lost to this guy." So there are, during the January 6th hearings, when I know a lot of MAGA was not watching it, that's when that came out, that he has told some of the folks that only had a job because he gave it to him, that can you believe I lost to this guy? That did come out.
I need to debunk this whole idea that Biden has some sort of war against oil. Biden has no war against oil going on. He is pumping more barrels. He is allowing Exxon and OPEC and whoever the hell else to pump more barrels of oil every day out of American soil than Trump.
That ain't gonna fly. That's not gonna fly, and that's not gonna fly, and I'll tell you why. It's very similar to what MAGA said.
But these are numbers. These are numbers now. It doesn't need to fly.
That's fine. That's fine. But it's not gonna fly for the same reason the Trump supporters say, pay attention to what Trump does, not what he says. What you're saying is pay attention to what Biden does, not what he says, because the things that come out of Biden's mouth are anti-fossil fuel. They're anti. They can see the writing on the wall.
That's right. You guys do need to look at what he's actually doing because it's screwing you, not OPEC. OPEC doesn't care what he says in public because on the back end, he's giving them a bunch of tax breaks. He's letting them pump more oil than anyone. He's approved more oil pipelines than anyone. So y'all can look at what he's saying to you.
I don't think
you're not interested.
I don't think any of that matters if you've convinced the automakers by a certain year to stop making fossil fuel related vehicles. You can pump all the oil you want to right now. The writing is on the wall.
So you think Biden is so powerful that he convinced the automakers to start making electric vehicles?
So you do believe that if Trump was on a second term right now, GM, hold on. So you believe GM, who's going to start making 100% electric vehicles by, 2025 or 2030, that would have happened under Trump too. You believe that?
Correct. Do you know who you can thank for that?
Who?
Do you know who you can thank for that? Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, he actually made the auto industry switch because his vehicles started outperforming theirs and people started wanting electric vehicles. So Elon Musk, actually the only good thing he ever did was he pushed the auto industry to make this change. Again, the president doesn't decide what technology is going to be in your hands. The people that bribe him do.
Yeah, you and I just disagree on that. I believe that if Trump was in office, because you notice they conveniently didn't announce this stuff until Biden got elected. I don't believe they may be. Go ahead.
The only way the president can control gas prices would be to implement an act like FDR did in 1942, which was to control out of spiral inflation and corporate gouging. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
So FDR put in the Pricing Act of 1942 to control that, and it fucking worked.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing that the president could actually do. Do you think that Trump, and Biden won't do it either, do you think that Trump is really going to come into office and say, oh, hey, corporate guys who I'm all buddy-buddy with and you've given me a bunch of money for my legal defenses and my campaign, I'm going to regulate you now. I'm going to tell you you can only charge this much money for oil. If you really think that, you're a moron.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I disagree is I believe you can make corporations do things with financial incentives, such as Obama incentivized getting solar panels out far easier because the government gave them subsidies. I believe that under Trump, the amount of research and development being paid for by the government would be far less to the electric vehicle industry than under Biden.
So what you want to do is, instead of getting the gas prices just lowered by the president doing price controls, you want to incentivize the oil companies by giving them more of your tax dollars for incentives, thus overriding any savings on gas you might get. Good plan.
Yeah, but that's what I'm suggesting would happen. I'm an electric vehicle fan, so I do believe in alternative energies, but I do believe under Trump we would not be going in that direction anywhere near as quick as we are under Biden.
Inflation would be the same, gas prices would be the same. The only way the president has control over any of this is if he signs an act to control it. It's happened before.
So
to say that some douchebag is going to come into office and control all the people that have given him all his campaign money is the words of a fool.
So you don't think that Biden has anything to do with the economy or gas prices?
Biden has things to do with the economy. For instance, he shouldn't be banning certain types of semiconductors being sold to China to stop them from getting certain types of AI. That's very damaging economically, and it's not going to stop them anyway. So yeah, he has certain things that he can control the economy with, but you need to understand that he needs to take the power to do that. Right now, corporations control the oil prices. The president does not. The president could sign an act to control the price to help us out, but Trump's not going to do that, and Biden's not going to do that. And if you think he is, you're a ridiculous person.
All
You're
right.
not wrong. Go look up history, man. You don't know history.
All right, Moo. Passionate as always. Gotta move it on. You're always welcome back, man.
Have a good one, my
You
friend.
too. Moo comes hard. Moo doesn't take any shit. We don't always agree, but Moo comes hard. All right, looking in the comments, tell him to stop whining, says Big Rex. The man is passionate about his opinion. I don't believe the man was whining. Him and I may disagree on some things, but I don't see him as whining. Just like if you came on and you were passionately on the opposing side. Wouldn't see you as whining either. By the way, tap the screen. Get your boy to 80,000. Still rolling with about 700 of you folks in here. Always appreciate you being here. As always, MAGA friendly. MAGA are my preferred guests. Liberals are welcome as well, though. Moo, we have no cows. I don't know what that means. Regulations kill oil and gas via high prices. True regulations can drive up the price of things. However, no regulations can lead to shit like the train derailment in Ohio or Exxon Valdez. If you don't regulate things, the outcome eventually will not be good. You need regulations. This is one of the areas of Trump I strongly opposed, was his promise. And fortunately, he didn't succeed at this, but he stated that he was going to shrink the size of government by way of, he said, for every 3-letter organization we open, we're going to shut down 2 of them. There's a reason you have those organizations. The FDA, Food and Drug Administration, it didn't come out of nowhere. It came because snake oil salesmen were selling you shit, telling you it could do things so you that it couldn't, or in some cases, killing you. The EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, that didn't come out of nowhere. It came because folks were dumping shit in our wastewaters, tearing down everything from the botanical gardens to the rainforest. Well, we don't have a rainforest, but you get the point. So these 3-letter organizations, if you get rid of them, the reasons they were formed are going to come back. It's no different than in America. We've gotten rid of unions, and you see what's happening to employment. If the reason they formed is not taken into consideration, you can go backwards. So I'm not a fan of getting rid of 3-letter organizations in hope of the people are just going to do good. I don't believe that. Now, that's not to say the federal government may not overstep their boundaries and become too powerful. That's what has happened, which is why people are suggesting getting rid of them. Same thing with the unions. The unions got too powerful, too political, and folks said, let's get rid of them. But when you get rid of them, then all of the same shit that you used to go to unions for has come back. In fact, some states have passed laws now allowing children to work. In some cases, even in what they consider dangerous jobs. So child labor could be coming back. Let me keep it moving. Snuggles, good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Hello. Hello. Oh my gosh. My ears are just burning. Okay. Yeah. You know, in Obama, federal judge said that the 14th Amendment's not going to work. He said that case is weak. There was no insurrection. And you know.
What about a rebellion? What about a rebellion?
Said no one got charged with insurrection.
What about a rebellion?
No.
What was the purpose? What was the purpose on January 6th? What was the purpose of Trump? What were they trying to do on January 6th?
To protest not moving that election forward. There was some, nobody still seems to know that there were 100 Democrat and Republican senators that wanted to discuss this with Vice President, not to put it through right now. They had some questions on certain things, but they put it through regardless. So that's the problem, and nobody's mentioning that. That's where that case 22-380 came in. So when I know that didn't go through with the Supreme Court, but from that part, you're not allowed constitutionally to bring that election forward without hearing the senators that wanted to debate it.
So how would you respond? We don't know if this is going to happen or not, but this is along the lines of yelling fire in a crowded theater. How would you respond if evidence came forth to show that Trump admitted that he lost before going to the protest on January 6th and telling the people that he won?
There's nothing wrong. That's freedom of speech. That's what goes on. There's freedom of speech.
So even if he won on January 6th, saying something that he could be proven to know he was lying about, you're saying freedom of speech allows him to go to that crowd and say he won anyway.
Right. There's nothing wrong with that. And you know, let's say, okay, so you run this live, right? You run this live. You're the leader of this live, right?
Okay.
Someone comes to you and says, hey, somebody's threatening me. Someone's threatening me. Can you please talk to them? I can't. It happens in my life too. I say, I can't talk to them. I'm not going to talk to them, right? Because I don't really know who they are. I don't know what they would do if I talk to them and tell them, hey, don't threaten people. Because then they can threaten me. Maybe they have a mental illness or something, right?
I don't get this.
So I have no control over somebody. I ask people to come to my live. Doesn't mean that I am the leader. Do what you say. Come to my Capitol. Come and do whatever. He didn't say come down to the Capitol and break in with bats and batons and break into a Capitol. He didn't say that. So any of those lines that he said, let's break into the Capitol. So if what
you're saying is true, I have to ask you this question: why is it a crime to yell fire in a crowded theater if there's no fire? Why isn't that protected by free speech?
Well, you have to ask him that. I'm just telling you what he said, what Trump said.
But think about it. If you yell fire in a crowded theater when you know there's no fire and folks are stampeding each other, you're responsible for this because you're lying. If you yell that you won the election and you know you didn't, and it amounts to basically a stampede at the Capitol building, how is that covered by free speech?
Right. Well, how do we know we didn't win?
That's what we're talking about. If he's on tape admitting it.
So some people think we did win, some people think we didn't win, but how do we know? Because there's still more stuff. That one court hearing about January 6th, the Democrats opened the door, so there is still evidence out there.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask it to you this way. Yeah. 3 years out, even though there are plenty of people who believe suspicious shit happened with the election, what leads you can believe that it was not held properly. Maybe you saw 2,000 mules, or maybe you saw crowd size or whatever. But what leads you to believe Trump won? What have you seen to let you believe Trump won by a landslide?
Just by the graphs, and just by the graphs. I don't want to do too much talking. You know what I mean. But there's a graph at 1:30 in the morning that had Trump leading by a very, very large amount. Do you vote at 1:30 in the morning?
You know they had to count the Snuggles. You know
there was a big hike in Biden's vote
Snuggles
at 1:30 in the morning. Are you serious? Who votes at 1:30 in the morning?
Snuggles, you know the mail-in votes had not been counted yet.
Please, there's mail-in votes every single year. Give me a break.
You know,
Are we really going to go by that?
Snuggles, you know, because of the pandemic, more people mailed in their votes in 2020 than any other election.
Yeah, the pandemic. The pandemic. Give me a break. Those could have been counted before 10 p.m. Give me a break.
So in other
We
words,
had 9/11. Did we have any problems with the 9/11? That we had a voting year that year, didn't we? Everybody voted their accounts on 9/11. We had people crash down towers, and we were okay to have votes.
wait,
Everybody voted.
Snuggles. 9/11 happened in September, 2 months before the election. The country was open again in November. What are you talking
Well,
about?
I'm just saying. Okay, well, yeah, I thought, maybe I was wrong on that one.
Okay,
But still, who gives a crap? Anyway, you know what? Who gives a crap? You know what I'm saying? Listen, we don't know. We really don't know. But we got a lot of surveillance tape that's very questionable. Did you see some of that surveillance tape? Or are you just going to act like a Democrat and say you did?
No, did you hear what I just said? We seen suspicious shit, whether you watching 2000 News or what. Hold on, hang on. Hold on, I conceded that whether we're talking crowd size or what you're seeing on 2000 News, there may be some suspicious stuff. But seeing something that happened suspiciously does not equate to Trump winning by a landslide. I'm asking what happened to give you the clue that he won by a landslide. What proof do you have? What evidence have you seen to back that up?
You'll find out soon enough in Michigan. You'll find out from Fannie Wilson, or not Michigan, Georgia. You're going to find out real quick. You're going to find out and see the hundreds of thousands thing. She opened the gates. She opened the storm door. You're going to watch what happens soon enough, bro.
Snuggles.
Soon enough.
Snuggles, it is September of 2023. You said I'm going to find out soon enough, which means we haven't found it out yet. So what was Trump talking about on January 6, 2021? If you're saying we haven't even found it out yet.
Walk peacefully and patriotically.
That ain't what I'm asking you. That ain't what I'm asking you.
I just want to ask you something really quick. Did you hear him say, bash the doors, go inside the Capitol? I want you to answer me that, please. Did he say go inside, bash the things down besides Ray-ups?
Fight like hell and take the country back. What does that mean?
Right. Did he say go inside?
No. What does fight like hell mean though? That could mean go inside.
No, fight like hell. Everybody says fight like hell. I'm fighting like hell to convince you, to let you know I'm fighting like hell right now to you. He's going to tell us to go inside the building.
So what did Rudolph Giuliani?
What? Don't fight like hell, because there's some Democrats that said fight like hell, and I'm going to send you some video on that. I'm going to play it for you, because there are a lot of people that say that. That's just a quote.
What is
80s and 90s, like you and me.
All right, fair enough. What does trial by combat mean that Rudolph Giuliani said?
Trial by combat.
Yeah, he said.
When you go to trial with these kind of Democratic people that are just insistent on saying that he's guilty, you're gonna go in there by combat. What are we doing? We're
Wait a minute. When Rudolph Giuliani on January 6th said, let's have trial by combat, nobody was even charged with anything. What are you talking about?
You know, these are old sayings. These people are old, right? We all complain about old people. These are stuff. This was stuff that was said in the old days. You and I know that. Look at your smile. You know I'm right.
No, you're not.
Our elderly said, fight like hell, or trial by combat. Come on. Now today it's him and her and he and she. It's just like crazy shit words. All
right. So let me just say this. I got to move it on. But if I ever find myself in trouble, I need you on my law team. If you can spin shit that way, hey, it's an old person. That's what they used to say. All right, Snuggles.
I love you, man, so much. I really do. We'll be back and we'll talk again.
I was going to be on your live earlier, but I was starting mine at the same time. I appreciate you coming on, though.
No problem, bro.
All right.
Have a great one.
You too.
Take care.
All right. Always good talking to Snuggles. We disagree on every damn thing, but I enjoy talking to him. Somebody said sniffles. I'm assuming you mean Snuggles. Snuggles is tripping. You would be up shit creek. Fair enough. That's what they told the Proud Boys meeting. Yeah. Ever heard of attempted murder? By your logic, I could shoot. Oh shit! That's on YouTube, by the way. I wanted to see what that comment is, but my YouTube is feed is not working right. Moving. Oh, ever heard of it? By your logic, I could shoot at people, and if I miss, no harm, no foul. Let me go home to shoot at more people. I don't quite get that. Ever heard of attempted murder? By your logic, I could shoot at people. I'm thinking you're referencing that to my last guess. I don't quite get that, but in regards to whether Trump caused an insurrection, Trump caused a rebellion, I'm asking this question. I'll go back to the box shortly. The reason the whole live stream is we're here discussing this today, according to the Cato Institute. So this is the reference for this. I asked the question, could Trump find himself on the wrong end of the 14th Amendment, Section 3? Here is how the Cato Institute defines what that particular section of the amendment means. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment prohibits anyone who has previously taken an oath of office from holding public office if they have engaged in an insurrection or rebellion against the United States. Now, many are suggesting that what happened on January 6th was not an insurrection. But there is something that has come out of what happened on January 6th that is worthy of noting. I'm repeating this because we're a little bit further down in the live stream. By the way, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 90,000, 10,000 likes. Let your thumbs not be lazy. Still 600 plus of you in here. Appreciate you rolling with your boy. Listen to this. Couy Griffin. You can Google this. C-U-O-Y. Couy Griffin. He is the Otero County Commissioner out in the state of New Mexico. Couy Griffin, who is the founder of a group called Cowboys for Trump, or was. Cowboys for Trump. Couy Griffin, the county commissioner of Otero County, New Mexico, was present on January 6th, and he did participate. Couy Griffin, the county commissioner in New Mexico, the state of New Mexico, was indeed stripped of his position as county commissioner by a judge in that state. According to the judge's rulings, effective immediately. So for his acts on January 6th, he was stripped of his position. And he has been, according to the ruling, barred from ever holding state or federal office ever again. So we do have a precedent of one of the participants on January 6th falling victim to the 14th Amendment. And by the way, the court cited the 14th Amendment as the reason they done that. So somebody did fall victim to it. If you want to Google it, look it up. Couy, C-U-O-Y, Charlie, Uniform, Oscar, Yankee. Couy Griffin. Otero County, New Mexico. He is was the county commissioner. Yeah! Star Grandma. Thank you. Hat and mustache. Appreciate that. So we'll keep it moving though, but that has happened. Somebody has lost their job for January 6th in politics and been permanently banned from office. So it has happened, just at a far, far lower level. Keeping it moving. We'll go to Pat Carlson. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. I've been listening to this, and it's just been burning my ears. Okay, so according to the 14th Amendment, Section 3 that you're talking about, let's look at some facts. I personally believe he can and should be banned, and the reason why is, all right, let's look at some facts. Let's say you you're with somebody and they commit an armed robbery or whatever, right?
Okay.
You don't actually go into the place, but you are found guilty because of the fact you're part of it. All right, the President of the United States, first of all, at his rally, he said, let me lead you down there. He didn't lead him down there. Had he let him down there, then maybe there would have been a different turnout, situation. But here's my big issue why I say he should and could. Because he was the President of the United States. The second, and I do mean the second he heard what was going on, he had a duty and responsibility as the President of the United States to get on every social media and tell him to back off. He didn't. He stood back and watched it play out.
Why now let me interrupt real quick, because that obviously happened. He went 4 hours or so before he got on television. Why do you think that happened? There was this delay.
Because he wanted it to happen. He wanted them to go in and do what they did. You know, he was already on record saying that Pence had no balls. You know, he said that he wouldn't do the right thing. You know, he was down on Pence and everything else about it, you know. But the fact, you know, even besides that fact, just the fact that he did not do his job as president of the United States to renounce it and tell everybody to back off, he is just as responsible as everybody else. A prime example, one of the Proud Boys wasn't even there. He was in another state, and he has been found guilty of that insurrection.
Yeah,
Trump should be too. Trump should be too, because he told them, come on down, I will lead you down there. Maybe if he led them down there and they pushed him aside and said, no, we're going to do this, you know, anyhow, then maybe I would feel a little bit different.
Right.
But he didn't. He deliberately had nothing to do with wanting to go down there or anything else. He wanted them to do what they did, and they did. He stood back and said nothing.
So how do you respond? So how do you respond to folks suggesting that if he wanted an insurrection, why would he have tried to call for the National Guard to be there?
Because he was getting pushed. After 4 hours of seeing this, he was getting big time push from everybody.
Yeah.
From everybody. And he finally said, all right, I've got to do something, you know, or else.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it wasn't that he wanted to, it's he didn't.
So what do you, in your opinion, you can give it any way you want, what do you think Trump was trying to accomplish on January 6th?
What I believe Trump was trying to accomplish on January 6th is to completely do away with the election, because Trump, let's face it, Trump on more than one occasion has said he could go down into Times Square and murder somebody and get away with it. Trump has said that he could do even more than the 2 terms of president and get away with it. Trump, I firmly believe that Trump wants to be the next Putin. He wants to be a dictator, and he will do whatever he has to become that.
Wow.
I mean, and some people would say, hey, he's a never Trumper. The fact of the matter is that when Trump was elected, I was actually for Trump. I didn't vote for him because, like one of your, I think it was on your thing, I heard a lady say that she hasn't voted in, you know, forever.
Right.
And I'm the same way, because of the fact that technically my vote don't count. You know, I can vote, but it's the electoral votes that count, not the people's vote. It has happened in the past that the people have said, hey, we want this. And the electoral votes did the exact opposite and put somebody else in office.
Yeah.
So, you know, the fact, you know, to say, oh, your vote does count, it doesn't. And the fact of the matter is, you know,
wait a minute. So if you don't think your vote counts, do you advise people to not vote at all?
No. Don't get me wrong. You know, I don't. That's my own personal belief and everything else. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I think our government is crooked to begin with. You know, they are out for big business. They are out for whoever's going to line their pocket. Look at the Supreme Court Judge Thomas. Look at all the kickbacks and everything he has taken, and there isn't, at this particular point, there isn't a damn thing the people can do. Each and every person who is elected into office is elected to represent we, not just part of the people, all of the people.
Yeah.
And there they're not. They are there to do what's going to benefit them and their pockets. Now, in response to the electric cars, for example, you know, they're pushing for these electric cars, these electric trucks, and things like that. What are you going to do when you have all of these electric cars? Our power grid in the United States can't even sustain the residents and the businesses as it is. You put all these electric cars out there, these electric trucks out there, you just even put
Let me respond to some of that. In regards to our power grid not being able to handle electric cars, I would tell you probably because a lot of alternative energy is not being produced. For instance, how many roofs in America that could be covered with, say, solar panels are not? I mean, if we step up the amount of alternative energy we produce, I think we could get closer to what you're talking about, because solar panels produce a hell of a lot of energy. If you have a home and your roof is covered with panels and you're only doing 30, 40 miles a day in your car, your solar panels could probably make it so you never need to fuel up your vehicle again. I do believe that if we step up the production of alternative energy, the problem you're talking about could be greatly addressed or at least reduced.
And I would agree with you on that. But here's this. Okay, you're talking these solar panels, right? And I'm all out for, you know, I'm a believer of solar energy. I am. However, have you looked at the cost on those? And let's face it, most of the people in America can't afford to put those panels up. You know, they're struggling from day to day. You know, it's like the one lady was talking. You know, she was sitting there saying, you know, the food prices haven't went up, fuel prices. That's a crock. I'm out here every day. I'm a long haul truck driver. I see the fuel prices.
I'll tell you this.
I see the fuel prices.
In regards to the price of solar, under Obama, the price of solar panels came down dramatically because he was subsidizing them. If they continue doing that, for instance, when you build a new home, start out the home from day one with panels already on the roof, and you can put that into the price of the home, and the government can subsidize it to begin with. If you purchasing panels in bulk where all of the new homes have them, the price would go down.
And I would agree with you. But let's look at the facts. You're talking the new houses. What about all these people who, you know, they do good to just pay their bills and are falling further and further and further behind each month? They can't afford to put those solar panels up. They can't. Now, if the government was to sit there and say, hey, we're going to put these solar panels up free of charge for you, you know, to help alleviate, you know, some of the power. You know, that would be.
I'll give you a perfect example.
Different story.
To do what you're suggesting, I mean, how much does it cost to outfit a house with solar panels? 15 to 20K. You could give them tax breaks on their property taxes for the next 10 years if they get solar panels. Or you could put them on a house and give them a low interest loan. There are 800 ways of doing this.
Check this out though. All right. You know, so they have all these electric cars, right? So then they said, hey, you buy an electric car, we're going to give you this discount. We're going to give you a tax break, right?
Okay.
You've seen that, right?
All right.
Okay, now these states are saying, hey, you're not using fossil fuel. You're not paying the road taxes. We're going to tax you anyhow. So
No.
they're saving money on the taxes, but some of these states are saying, hey, Beans, you're not buying fuel. You're not paying the road taxes like everybody who else is buying fuel. So now we're going to start taxing you because you're not paying those road taxes.
I mean, this is how the conversation you and I are having is how it is illustrates how difficult it is to move away from fossil fuel, because no matter what you propose, somebody's going to come up with a reason. Like Trump said, windmills are killing birds and causing cancer. No matter what you come up with, somebody's going to give you a reason why fossil fuel is a better choice. At some point, you have to take the plunge and try something out. You can't just have folks shooting down every avenue.
I would agree with that. You know, I would agree with what you're saying. But let's look at the realistic point on it at the same time. You know, electric cars and everything. Yeah, you're helping out, you're saving. But electric cars versus fossil fuel vehicles currently in America.
What about it?
You know, obviously the fossil fuel industry has billions on top of billions of vehicles out there that depend on this fossil fuel. You've got these people, they're just, once again, they're struggling just to make ends meet. They're driving a car that they don't know if it's going to make it up the block or not. And then the government's going to try to say, hey,
but Pat,
you're going to have to switch to an electric car.
Well, just like with anything else, go for the upper class and the middle class first. Then, I mean, everybody ain't struggling as bad as you're talking about. Give that particular group of people some type of subsidies or some type of leeway. I mean, that's not the whole of the population.
Here's another issue. All right, like I said, I'm a truck driver, right? Okay, so you've got these states like California and Texas that technically it's illegal for me to idle my truck to keep cool in the summer, warm in the wintertime. It is illegal for us to do that in like California and Texas. Now, anytime I'm there, I will idle my truck anyhow. They want to give me a ticket. First of all, I've got an exemption from that rule because I have dogs in my truck. If you have a pet in your truck, that rule doesn't apply. So the government has put more emphasis on an animal than they have a human life. But even beside that fact, if they wanted to give me a ticket, I'm going to go up to court and I'm going to fight that. And my argument is, this is my home. I live in this truck.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Hold on. Pat, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but let's be clear. The problem you're talking about, 99.9% of America will never deal with idling truck issues. And I used to be an over-the-road driver, so I know what you're talking about, but that's a micro issue. We could actually tackle that. I'm fine with complaining about that, and I do believe you might have a case, but in regards to leaving fossil fuel and going to alternative energy, the problem you're talking about does not affect the overwhelming majority of Americans.
And I would agree with you. Do we need to come up with alternative solutions, whether it be for cars, electricity? You know, I agree. I mean, we're destroying this planet. You know, let's face it, hurricanes are more popular, tornadoes, you know, and you've got those that say climate, you know, the greenhouse effect has no effect on it. And I'm not a scientist. I don't claim to be a scientist, but you're creating all this pollution, not only on the ground, but how many rockets are sent up into the atmosphere and burning, you know,
I get it.
You know, it's got to be doing something, you know, to the...
But you have to... Okay, at the end of the day, we can go back and forth, but you have to start somewhere. You can't get it all overnight.
I agree.
That's what we're talking about.
Agree.
All right.
I agree. I mean, it's just like some people say, oh, Biden didn't do anything, you know, to create, you know, higher fuel prices. And yes, he did. He did the second he got into office. He shut down a pipeline that would have helped create lower prices. He put a lot of people out of work, threw away billions of dollars because they had all these pipelines, they had the workers, they had everything set up to run this pipeline, and then the second he got into office, he stopped it.
All right. All right, Pat, I do got to move it on, but I appreciate you coming through. Is this our first time talking?
Yes, it is. I like listening to these shows like you guys. I mean, like I said, I am a long haul truck driver, and I actually got booted off of one the other day because as soon as he found out that I was a long haul truck driver and moving down the road, he booted me because for two things. One, because I was talking on a headset, which is perfectly legal. I'm not creating a video.
Okay, well, you don't let me just make it clear that won't happen here. You see me on, come on back to anytime, man.
And that was one thing. And then I had made a comment about, our justice system does not, make the punishment.
All right, well, you don't have to go into why they did. Just understand it won't happen here. But come on back anytime, man.
And I appreciate that, and I've listened to the show for quite some time today, and I love the fact that you're willing to hear anybody out, whether you agree with them or not, but you're not going to sit there, oh, I disagree with you, boom, you're gone.
Yep, that's how we do it. All right, appreciate it. And I just want to say this, and like I said, as my last caller was stating, do agree. I do agree with him. We don't move you out because you have a difference of opinion. I'm a strong proponent of the First Amendment. So understand when you're on the live stream, you don't have to agree with the host. I appreciate if you folks would tap the screen, get your boy right on up into the triple digits. We're a few likes short of 100,000. So tap the screen, take your boy on up to 100,000. But real quick, to address what he was talking about in trucks, using the idle and being banned or blocked in California against the law for idling your vehicle. I used to be an over-the-road driver, stopped in 2020. I was in a cargo van and in a, one of those tall sprinters where I could actually stand up inside, kind of like the post office trucks, ProMaster 2500. So I want to give you this story real quick. Because when I was on the road, I lived in the damn van just like anybody else. I was hauling freight. It had a comfortable bed. I had a 40-inch television, microwave, Xbox, and all of that. And I didn't need to idle my vehicle. You know why? I had 4 100-watt solar panels on top of the vehicle. And inside the vehicle, I had 2, and I actually had, I didn't have lithium polymer batteries or lithium batteries. I actually had alkaline, like the batteries in your car, deep cycle batteries, 2 big ass deep cycle batteries. I went to Battery Plus, purchased their 2 largest deep cycle batteries. I think they were 6-volt deep cycle golf cart batteries. Put them together in parallel, got me my 12 volts, and that would run me everything from the TV, coffee maker, all of that shit. So that was an alternative vehicle, off of the grid type shit. And you get what do they call them? They like little Chinese heaters you get, and you put a few bucks worth of diesel in, and it'll give you heat throughout the night. But you can live in a vehicle without letting it idle all night. I know because I did it. And if you want, because this is a lunch break live and I'm gonna have to end it real quick, but if you go to YouTube, The Handsome Liberal, which is my name, expediting in comfort. I did a whole 15-minute video of that van, the entire layout. You'll see every damn thing in there, all of the bells and whistles, video games, all the shit I got in there. But it was a man cave on wheels. Designed it myself, lived in it for 4 years, hauling freight all over America. So I know it can be done because yours truly, I did it. By the way, he also mentioned the cost of solar panels. I had 4 100-watt panels on top. On the top of that van, you could actually get about 6 of them up there. And at the time, I purchased them from a company called Renogy, which is a very popular solar panel maker. $150 per panel. They're now under $100. You can now get a 100-watt panel for well under $100. Like as I said, purchasing in bulk, they will go down in price. So alternative energy is much further along than a lot of the detractors want you to believe, which is why I stated, if your house has solar panels on it, the energy just going to those panels would probably make it so you didn't have to buy gas ever again. If you just use those panels to charge batteries and keep your car charged and you're driving like a typical American 50, 60 miles a day, you would never need fuel again. During the day while you're at work, it would charge the batteries. And when you're at home, you would plug your car in, draining the batteries to power up your vehicle for the next day. You would never need fuel again for your car. You could probably do more than one car like that too, by the way, because these cars have range, talking about electric vehicles, 400 miles or so now. Their range is getting close to a car filled with gasoline. So if you're just driving overnight, parking it till the next morning, yeah, and you only drove 50 miles during the day, probably could charge that back up in a few hours. So it's possible. Now, obviously, if you're talking about driving from San Francisco to Charlotte, North Carolina in an electric vehicle, that's a different story. But most Americans don't do that. Maybe a handful of times in a decade. Most Americans don't drive like that. But that's what they're presenting as counter for the alternative fuel vehicles. Well, I can't drive 700 miles. How often are you doing that anyway? Anyhow, I do appreciate you folks. It is a lunch break live. You know what I have to do around this time. Catch you guys on the next live stream. Real quick, Andy said it is ridiculous the amount of misinformation the Republicans are spreading. Well, the liberals do it sometimes too. Appreciate you folks. 109,000 likes. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I gotta go. For you folks tuning in on YouTube still here, I do appreciate that. Still smaller crowd. I do want to get some better equipment, but so why is solar so bad then? Trump wouldn't encourage the use of solar because Trump is going to get a lot more generosity, for lack of a better term, from the fossil fuel industry. It's not in his best interest to go to solar energy or to alternative energies. That's why he's doing it. Folks will suggest Trump is not a typical politician. Maybe, maybe not, but he knows about money. And if the fossil fuel industries, their lobbyists, are looking out for him, he's not going to promote solar or wind energy. He's going to stick with fossil fuel. That's the same deal when it comes to big business, which is why the Republicans do not favor entitlements and $15 minimum wage and all of that shit, because their lobbyists support big business. They favor big business. What do you normally hear Republicans talking about? Protecting small business, and if you do that, it's going to hurt the businesses, and companies are people too, because that's where their money comes from. The liberals, it's the opposite. So you're not going to hear Trump promoting alternative energies because it's not in his best interest. And the liberals do the opposite for the opposite reason. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I do appreciate you folks on YouTube. Catch you on the next.